There comes a moment in life when you realize that constant noise is not movement, it's distraction. You've been reacting, responding, explaining, and adjusting to everything around you, yet something still feels scattered. This is where real change begins. Not by doing more, but by doing less with greater intention. You stop trying to be everywhere, and you start choosing where your energy truly belongs. Focusing on yourself is not about ego or isolation. It is about clarity. It is the decision to bring your attention back to what you can actually shape, your habits, your discipline, your direction. When your focus returns inward, the mind begins to settle. You think more clearly. You act more deliberately. You stop chasing momentum and start creating it. Silence naturally follows this shift. Not silence out of fear, but silence out of awareness. You begin to understand that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every plan needs an audience. The more you talk about what you are building, the more energy leaks out. When you keep your focus private, it stays powerful. Your progress feels lighter, cleaner, and more controlled. As attention narrows, strength concentrates. You notice how much energy was once wasted on comparison, opinions, and unnecessary reactions. That energy now fuels consistency. Small, disciplined actions begin to stack. Days start to feel purposeful instead of busy. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions, you are moving in one. This is where confidence starts to form, quietly. Not the kind that needs recognition, but the kind that comes from knowing you are aligned. You don't rush to prove anything. You don't feel pressure to explain your pace. You trust your process because you are finally present inside it. Focusing on yourself changes how you experience time. You stop feeling late. You stop feeling behind. You realize that progress is not a race, it is a practice. And when practiced daily, with calm intention, it compounds into something unshakable. This is the foundation. Before silence becomes strategy, before discipline becomes identity, before calm becomes strength. Everything begins here, with focus returned to its rightful place. Number 1. The power of quiet. Silence is not something you force, it is something you grow into. As your focus turns inward, you begin to notice how unnecessary most noise really is. Opinions come and go, reactions rise and fall, but none of them shape your future unless you let them. Quiet is where your thinking sharpens and your intentions mature. It is not empty space, it is working space. When you stop filling every moment with words, your mind gains room to breathe. You hear your own thoughts clearly for the first time. You start recognizing patterns. What drains you, what strengthens you, what distracts you, and what truly matters. This awareness is not dramatic, it is steady, and from steady awareness comes control. You no longer react automatically, you choose deliberately. Silence protects your energy. Every explanation costs something. Every argument takes something. Every attempt to be understood leaks momentum. When you step back from constant communication, that energy stays with you. It fuels discipline. It fuels consistency. It fuels patience. You feel less scattered because you are no longer trying to manage how everything looks. You are focused on how everything works. Quiet also changes your relationship with confidence. Instead of seeking reassurance, you begin to rely on repetition. You do the work again today, not because anyone is watching, but because it is who you are becoming. Confidence grows quietly through action, not through affirmation. The more you act in alignment with your values, the less you need validation. You stop checking reactions. You stop waiting for approval. You trust the process because you are living it. There is a calm strength that comes from not explaining yourself. Not in arrogance, but in certainty. You understand that people do not need to understand your path for it to be real. You stop rehearsing your reasons. You stop defending your pace. You move forward without friction because you are no longer dragging external expectations with you. Silence also improves how you listen. When you are not preparing to respond, you actually hear what is being said. You notice tone, you notice intention, you notice what is not said. This awareness makes you sharper, not colder. You become more observant, more thoughtful, more precise. Your words, when you choose to use them, carry weight because they come from clarity, not impulse. As the days pass, quiet becomes familiar. You no longer feel the urge to fill space. You are comfortable with pauses, comfortable with stillness, comfortable with your own company. This comfort is powerful. It means you are not running from yourself. You are standing with yourself. And from that position, growth becomes natural. You begin to notice another shift. Peace. Not the kind that comes from avoiding responsibility, but the kind that comes from knowing where your attention belongs. Your nervous system settles, your reactions soften, you move through challenges with composure rather than urgency. Problems still exist, but they no longer overwhelm you. You meet them calmly, one at a time. Quiet does not disconnect you from the world. It reconnects you to reality. You see things as they are, not as noise makes them seem. You stop exaggerating obstacles. You stop dramatizing setbacks. You focus on solutions because your mind is no longer overloaded. Clarity becomes your default state. This is the real power of silence. It simplifies life. It strengthens intention. It keeps your energy where it belongs. You are not hiding. You are refining. You are not withdrawing. You are consolidating strength. The less you speak, the more intentional you become. The more intentional you become, the less you need to speak. Quiet is not the absence of action. It is the absence of waste. And once you experience that difference, you do not go back. Number 2, discipline without pressure. Discipline does not arrive through force. It grows when pressure is removed. Once you stop demanding instant results from yourself, consistency becomes natural. You no longer need intense motivation or dramatic routines. You begin to show up simply because it makes sense. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Discipline stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like alignment. When pressure disappears, clarity improves. You stop setting unrealistic expectations that only lead to frustration. Instead, you choose standards you can honor daily. Small actions become meaningful because they are repeatable. You begin to understand that strength is not built in extremes, but in patterns. The mind relaxes when it knows what is expected, and from that calm, reliability forms. Discipline without pressure changes how you approach effort. You no longer treat work as punishment or proof. You treat it as practice. Each repetition sharpens skill. Each routine strengthens identity. You stop asking whether you feel like doing the work and start asking whether the work supports who you are becoming. Most of the time, the answer is clear. Action follows without negotiation. This kind of discipline is quiet. It does not need motivation speeches or public accountability. It is internal and stable. You act because acting has become familiar. The mind resists less because it trusts the process. There is no internal argument, no emotional bargaining, just movement in the right direction, day after day. As discipline stabilizes, stress begins to drop. You are no longer sprinting between bursts of effort and long periods of avoidance. You maintain a steady pace. This consistency protects your energy. You feel capable instead of exhausted. Progress becomes predictable, and predictability creates confidence. You know what tomorrow will require because you designed it that way. Without pressure, mistakes lose their power. When something goes wrong, you do not spiral. You adjust. You return to routine. There is no drama, only correction. This resilience keeps momentum alive. You are no longer afraid of falling off track because you trust your ability to return. Discipline becomes flexible instead of fragile. This approach also changes your relationship with time. You stop trying to compress growth into short windows. You respect duration. You allow habits to mature. You understand that results need space to form. This patience removes anxiety. You stop watching the clock and start trusting the process. The future feels calmer because the present is structured. Discipline without pressure strengthens self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence deepens. Not the loud kind, but the steady kind. You begin to rely on yourself. This reliability is powerful. It creates inner authority. You no longer doubt whether you will act. You already know the answer. Your environment starts to reflect this discipline. You simplify. You remove distractions that no longer fit. You choose routines that support focus. This is not restriction, it is refinement. You are not cutting life down. You are clearing space for what matters. Each choice reinforces identity. You become someone who moves with intention. This calm discipline affects your thinking. The mind becomes quieter because it is no longer overloaded with indecision. You stop debating every step. You follow structure. Structure reduces mental friction. Energy that was once spent on overthinking now fuels execution. You feel lighter because clarity replaces noise. Discipline without pressure also changes how you rest. Rest is no longer escape. It becomes recovery. You rest because it supports performance, not because you are avoiding effort. This balance keeps the system healthy. You work with focus. You rest with purpose. There is no guilt on either side. Over time, this way of living compounds. Results appear quietly. Strength builds without strain. Confidence stabilizes without ego. You are no longer trying to control outcomes. You are controlling inputs. This control is calm and sustainable. It does not demand attention. It delivers results. This is where real transformation happens, not in moments of intensity, but in periods of stability. Discipline becomes identity. Pressure dissolves. Progress continues without force. You are no longer pushing yourself forward. You are moving forward because everything inside you is aligned to do so. This is the kind of discipline that lasts. Number 3. Calm strength and emotional control. Real strength is not loud. It does not announce itself through intensity or aggression. It shows itself through control. As discipline settles into your daily life, another shift begins to happen quietly inside you. Your emotions stop running the show. Not because you suppress them, but because you understand them. You no longer feel dragged by every reaction. You feel grounded enough to choose how you respond. Emotional control is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming stable. You start noticing the gap between what happens and how you react to it. In that gap, you find freedom. You are no longer forced into impulsive responses. You pause. You observe. You decide. This pause becomes one of your greatest strengths. It protects your energy and sharpens your judgment. When emotions are unmanaged, they drain focus. They pull attention away from what matters and scatter it across frustration, anxiety, and unnecessary conflict. But when emotions are understood, they become information instead of commands. You listen to them without obeying them blindly. Anger becomes a signal, not an explosion. Stress becomes feedback, not panic. This shift changes how you move through challenges. Calm strength develops as you stop personalizing everything. Not every comment is an attack. Not every delay is a failure. Not every obstacle is a threat. You begin to see situations more objectively. This objectivity removes emotional weight. You handle problems with clarity instead of urgency. Solutions become easier to see when the mind is not clouded by reaction. As emotional control grows, your confidence stabilizes. You are no longer confident only when things go well. You remain steady even when they don't. This steadiness is powerful. It means your self-worth is no longer tied to outcomes or approval. You trust yourself to handle situations as they come. This trust creates calm under pressure. You also notice a change in how you interact with others. Conversations feel lighter because you are not defending yourself constantly. You listen without preparing a counter-argument. You speak without needing to dominate. Disagreements no longer feel threatening. You can disagree without disconnecting. This emotional maturity improves relationships naturally. People feel respected around you because you are not reactive. Calm strength also reduces inner conflict. When emotions are unmanaged, the mind argues with itself. One part wants to act, another wants to avoid, another wants reassurance. This internal noise is exhausting. But when you regulate emotions, decisions become cleaner. You know what matters. You act accordingly. The mind feels unified instead of divided. This emotional stability supports long-term focus. You are less distracted by mood swings. You do not wait to feel perfect before acting. You show up consistently. This consistency compounds into progress. Emotional control is not dramatic, but it is deeply effective. It keeps you moving forward, even on difficult days. You also learn to sit with discomfort without escaping it. Not every uncomfortable feeling needs to be fixed immediately. Some need to be understood, some need to pass. By allowing discomfort without resistance, you reduce its power. You stop fearing it. This ability strengthens resilience. You become comfortable with challenge, knowing it will not break you. Calm strength changes how you experience stress. Stress no longer overwhelms you because you address it early. You notice signs of overload and adjust before burnout hits. You respect limits. You manage energy. This awareness keeps the system balanced. You work hard without collapsing. You rest without guilt. This balance is essential for sustainability. As weeks pass, this emotional control becomes automatic. You no longer think about regulating yourself. It happens naturally. You respond instead of react. You stay composed instead of scattered. This composure becomes part of your identity. You are known, at least to yourself, as someone steady. This steadiness creates quiet authority. You do not need to raise your voice to be heard. You do not need intensity to be taken seriously. Your presence alone carries weight because it is grounded. People sense that you are not easily shaken. This is not intimidation. It is trustworthiness. Calm people are trusted because they are predictable in the best way. Emotional control also frees creativity. When the mind is not busy managing reactions, it has space to think. Ideas flow more easily. Problem solving improves. You approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. This openness leads to better outcomes and less stress. Over time, you realize that calm strength is not something you turn on. It is something you live from. It influences how you think, work, speak, and rest. It protects your focus and preserves your energy. It allows discipline to continue without force. This is how emotional control supports everything else you are building. It keeps progress steady. It keeps identity solid. It keeps you cantered regardless of external conditions. You are no longer at the mercy of every emotion. You are guided by awareness, clarity, and calm strength that holds. Number 4. Inner clarity and decision-making. As calm strength settles in, another layer of progress begins to form. Inner clarity. Decisions stop feeling heavy. You no longer feel pulled in multiple directions at once. When the mind is quiet and emotions are regulated, choice becomes simpler. Not because life has fewer options, but because you finally know which ones matter. Clarity is not about having all the answers. It is about knowing what deserves your attention right now. Inner clarity grows when you stop overloading your mind with unnecessary input. You are no longer constantly reacting to opinions, trends, or external pressure. Instead, you give yourself space to think. In that space, priorities reveal themselves. You begin to see the difference between what feels urgent and what is actually important. This distinction saves you time, energy, and regret. Decision-making improves when you stop rushing. You learn that speed is not always intelligence. Pausing does not mean hesitation. It means consideration. You allow yourself to sit with a choice long enough to feel whether it aligns or distracts. This patience leads to better outcomes. You choose fewer things, but you choose them well. Each decision supports the direction you are building instead of pulling you away from it. Clarity also removes internal noise. When you are unclear, the mind argues with itself. One part wants comfort, another wants progress. One wants safety, another wants growth. This conflict is exhausting. But when clarity forms, these parts align. You understand why you are doing what you are doing. Purpose becomes practical. Action becomes easier because the mind is no longer divided. As clarity deepens, confidence follows naturally. Not confidence based on outcomes, but confidence based on direction. You trust your ability to decide and adjust. If a choice doesn't work, you correct it without self-attack. There is no shame in learning, there is only refinement. This approach keeps momentum alive and prevents stagnation. Inner clarity also changes how you deal with uncertainty. Instead of seeing uncertainty as danger, you see it as part of movement. You understand that waiting for complete certainty often means waiting forever. Clarity does not require guarantees. It requires commitment to the next step. You move forward knowing that adjustment is always possible. This flexibility removes fear and replaces it with calm readiness. You also begin to recognize distractions more quickly. Not everything that feels interesting is useful. Not every opportunity is aligned. With clarity, you can sense when something pulls you away from your core focus. Saying no becomes easier, not out of fear, but out of respect for your direction. Each no strengthens your yes. Clarity sharpens judgment without making you rigid. You remain open to information, but you are not overwhelmed by it. You listen, evaluate, and decide. This balanced thinking protects you from impulsive choices and from paralysis. You stay in motion, but with intention. This way of thinking changes how you plan. Goals become simpler and more realistic. You break large visions into manageable actions. You focus on what you can do today rather than obsessing over distant outcomes. This grounded planning reduces stress and increases follow-through. Progress feels achievable because it is built on clarity, not fantasy. Inner clarity also improves your relationship with mistakes. When your direction is clear, mistakes do not threaten your identity. They become data. You analyze them calmly. You adjust systems instead of criticizing yourself. This mindset accelerates learning and prevents emotional setbacks from becoming long-term obstacles. As weeks pass, clarity becomes familiar. You trust your internal signals. You recognize when something fits and when it doesn't. This trust allows you to move forward without constant reassurance. You feel anchored even when circumstances change. This anchoring is powerful. It keeps you steady while everything else shifts. Clarity also brings peace. When you know why you are doing what you are doing, the mind relaxes. There is less mental chatter, less second-guessing, less regret. You are present in your actions because you believe in them. This presence improves performance and satisfaction at the same time. Over time, inner clarity becomes one of your strongest assets. It protects your focus. It guides your discipline. It supports your calm strength. You are no longer drifting or reacting. You are choosing deliberately. Each decision builds upon the last, creating a path that feels coherent and intentional. This is how clarity shapes a life, not through dramatic realizations, but through daily alignment, choice by choice, step by step. You are not forcing certainty. You are building trust with yourself. And that trust makes every decision lighter, cleaner, and more effective as you continue forward. Number 5, patience, timing, and trusting the process. As clarity strengthens your decisions, patience begins to reshape how you experience progress. You stop expecting life to move on your schedule, not out of resignation, but out of understanding. You realize that timing is not something you control directly, it's something you work with. This shift removes frustration. You no longer feel delayed or denied. You feel positioned. Patience is often misunderstood as waiting, but what you develop here is active patience. You continue showing up, you continue refining, you continue improving inputs while allowing outcomes to unfold naturally. This approach changes your emotional relationship with time. You stop counting days and start counting repetitions. Each effort becomes valuable, even when results are not immediately visible. When patience matures, urgency fades. You are no longer racing against imagined deadlines. You stop comparing your pace to others. You recognize that everyone is operating under different conditions, with different starting points and different responsibilities. Once you accept this, comparison loses its grip. You return to your own path with renewed focus. Trusting the process does not mean blind faith. It means confidence in structure. You trust what you can see and influence. your habits, your discipline, your preparation. You let go of what you cannot fully predict. This balance keeps you grounded. Anxiety decreases because you are no longer demanding certainty from the future. You are investing in readiness. Patience also protects quality. When you rush, mistakes multiply. When you slow down intentionally, awareness increases. You notice details. You refine technique. You improve decision-making. Progress becomes more solid because it is built carefully. This care compounds into reliability. You are no longer chasing quick wins that collapse under pressure. You are building outcomes that hold. As you practice patience, emotional reactions soften further. Delays no longer feel personal. Setbacks no longer feel final. You understand that interruption is part of development. Instead of reacting emotionally, you assess calmly. You ask what can be adjusted. This response keeps momentum alive, even when plans change. Timing begins to make sense retrospectively. You notice how moments of delay often prepared you for future responsibility. Skills develop, awareness grows, capacity increases. What once felt slow now feels necessary. This perspective builds trust in your journey. You stop questioning whether you are behind and start recognizing that you are becoming capable. Patience also deepens resilience. You learn how to continue without constant reward. You train yourself to find satisfaction in effort. This internal reward system is powerful. It keeps you consistent even when external validation is absent. You become less dependent on outcomes to feel motivated. Progress becomes self-sustaining. Trusting the process also changes how you handle uncertainty. You no longer freeze when the path ahead is unclear. You move forward with what you know and adjust when new information appears. This flexibility keeps you active. You do not wait for perfect conditions. You work with what exists. This approach prevents stagnation. As patience strengthens, your nervous system settles. You are no longer constantly alert, anticipating problems that may never come. You operate from calm readiness instead of tension. This calm improves focus and decision-making. You are more present because you are not mentally rushing ahead. Patience also improves relationships. You stop demanding immediate understanding or agreement. You allow conversations to unfold. You give others space to respond. This composure creates mutual respect. You are not trying to control outcomes socially. You are allowing connection to develop naturally. Trusting the process also reinforces self-respect. Each day you commit to effort without guarantees. You strengthen trust in yourself. You prove that you can stay consistent even without certainty. This proof builds confidence quietly. You no longer fear slow progress because you know you will not quit. Over time, patience becomes part of your identity. You are no longer rushed by external pressure. You are no longer destabilized by temporary delays. You move steadily. You adjust intelligently. You remain composed. This steadiness is powerful because it keeps you functional in unpredictable environments. You also notice that opportunities begin to align more naturally, not because you are chasing them, but because you are prepared when they appear. Patience creates readiness. Readiness creates opportunity. This sequence removes desperation. You are not grasping, you are responding. Trusting the process allows you to stay focused on growth rather than outcome. You enjoy improvement. You appreciate learning. You notice progress even when results are subtle. This appreciation keeps motivation alive. You are no longer dependent on big wins to feel encouraged. As patience deepens, fear loses relevance. Fear thrives on urgency and uncertainty. When you are patient, fear has less influence. You are not rushing into decisions to escape discomfort. You are not avoiding challenges to protect comfort. You face situations calmly, knowing you can handle what comes next. This patience supports everything you have built so far. Discipline remains stable. Emotional control stays intact. Clarity guides action. The system works because it is not forced. You are no longer trying to outrun the process. You are moving with it. This is how long-term strength is developed. Through patience that works. Through timing that respects growth. Through trust that keeps you steady even when outcomes are delayed. You are not waiting for life to begin. You are building it calmly and deliberately, one step at a time. Number 6. Simplicity, focus, and energy management. As patience settles into your way of moving, simplicity begins to emerge naturally. Not forced minimalism, not restriction, but clarity-driven simplicity. You start noticing how complexity often hides exhaustion. Too many commitments, too many inputs, too many decisions competing for the same limited energy. Once you see this clearly, you stop adding more and begin refining what already exists. Simplicity is not about doing less for the sake of less. It is about doing what matters without dilution. You begin trimming distractions not out of discipline alone, but out of respect for your energy. You realize that energy is not endless, and focus is fragile. Where you place it determines how you feel, how you perform, and how you progress. This awareness changes your daily structure. You stop stacking your days with unnecessary obligations. You question habits that consume attention without producing value. You begin to ask a simple, grounding question. Does this support my direction, or does it scatter it? Over time, this question becomes instinctive. Decisions become cleaner, your calendar becomes lighter, your mind becomes quieter. With fewer distractions, focus deepens. You are no longer constantly switching contexts. You stay with tasks longer, you think more clearly. Work becomes more efficient because your attention is no longer fractured. This is not about intensity, it is about presence. When you are fully present with one thing, effort feels lighter and results improve naturally. Energy management becomes intentional. You stop pushing through exhaustion as proof of strength. You begin noticing when your energy rises and when it dips. You plan demanding tasks when your focus is strongest. You rest before depletion rather than after burnout. This is not weakness, it is intelligence. You work with your system instead of against it. Simplicity also reduces decision fatigue. When routines are clear and priorities are defined, the mind spends less energy choosing and more energy executing. This frees mental bandwidth for creativity, problem-solving, and deeper thinking. You feel less overwhelmed because fewer things are competing for attention at the same time. As simplicity increases, stress decreases, not because challenges disappear, but because you are no longer amplifying them through overload. You handle one thing at a time. You respond instead of juggling. This calm approach improves performance and preserves emotional balance. You remain effective without feeling constantly rushed. Focus also sharpens boundaries. You become more comfortable saying no without explanation. Not from rigidity, but from clarity. You understand that every yes has a cost. By protecting your energy, you protect your progress. This selectiveness keeps momentum steady and prevents dilution of effort. Simplicity also improves recovery. When life is less cluttered, rest becomes more effective. You are not mentally replaying unfinished tasks or unresolved commitments. You rest fully. This quality of rest improves resilience. You return to action refreshed instead of drained. Over time, this cycle strengthens both productivity and well-being. You also notice a shift in satisfaction. You enjoy doing fewer things well rather than many things poorly. Progress feels tangible because your effort is concentrated. This concentration builds confidence quietly. You trust yourself because you are following through consistently. There is no chaos, no constant adjustment, just steady execution. Focus deepens self-awareness. You begin noticing when attention drifts and gently bring it back. There is no frustration, no self-criticism, just redirection. This skill compounds. The more you practice returning attention, the stronger focus becomes. Over time, distraction loses its grip. Simplicity also affects how you consume information. You stop absorbing everything indiscriminately. You become selective. You choose inputs that support growth and discard those that create noise. This improves mental clarity. Your thinking becomes cleaner because it is not cluttered with irrelevant data. As focus stabilizes, creativity improves. When the mind is not constantly reacting, It has space to explore ideas. You connect dots more easily. You approach problems with curiosity instead of urgency. This creative calm leads to better solutions and less stress. Energy management also improves emotional stability. When you are not depleted, emotions are easier to regulate. You are less reactive simply because you are not exhausted. This reinforces calm strength. Everything begins supporting everything else. Focus supports energy. Energy supports patience. Patience supports clarity. You also notice that time feels different. Days feel longer, not because there is more time, but because attention is not scattered. You experience moments fully. This presence increases satisfaction. Life feels richer even when it is simpler. Simplicity does not remove ambition, it refines it. You still aim forward, but with intention. You stop chasing everything and start building something. This shift creates depth. Depth creates meaning. Meaning sustains effort over time. As this section of your journey unfolds, you realize that simplicity is not a sacrifice. It is a strategy that protects focus, preserves energy, and supports steady growth. You are no longer overwhelmed by possibilities. You are committed to direction. This is how focus becomes sustainable, not through force, but through clarity, not through pressure, but through intelligent simplicity. You are not narrowing your life. You are strengthening it by removing what weakens it. With fewer distractions and better energy management, momentum continues without strain. Progress feels calm. Effort feels purposeful. You move forward not because you are pushing harder, but because everything unnecessary has been cleared out of the way. Number 7, self-trust and inner stability. As simplicity sharpens focus and energy is managed with intention, self-trust begins to solidify. This trust is not blind optimism. It is built from evidence, from showing up repeatedly, from making thoughtful decisions, from handling difficulty without collapsing. You no longer wonder whether you can rely on yourself. You know you can, because you have watched yourself do it over time. Self-trust changes how you stand in the world. You are no longer constantly seeking reassurance or second opinions to feel secure. Advice becomes input, not permission. You listen, consider, and decide without anxiety. This internal stability removes a subtle tension that once lived in your chest, the tension of needing confirmation before moving forward. With self-trust in place, action feels natural instead of forced. Inner stability grows when you stop abandoning yourself under pressure. In the past, uncertainty may have caused you to rush decisions, compromise values, or silence intuition. Now, you pause instead. You stay present with discomfort long enough to understand it. This pause is powerful. It keeps you aligned even when situations are unclear. You no longer trade long-term stability for short-term relief. Self-trust also reshapes how you experience failure. Mistakes no longer threaten your identity. They become part of the learning process. You correct without panic. You adjust without self-blame. This calm response keeps momentum intact. You trust that even if something goes wrong, you will handle it. That confidence removes fear from decision-making. Inner stability is reflected in your emotional tone. You are less reactive, not because you suppress emotions, but because you are not overwhelmed by them. Feelings arise and pass without hijacking behavior. You observe emotions as signals, not commands. This perspective creates space between feeling and action. In that space, choice exists. Self-trust also reduces comparison. When you trust your direction, other people's timelines lose influence. You are no longer measuring progress against external markers. You assess growth based on alignment, consistency, and integrity. This internal measurement system is calmer and more accurate. It keeps you grounded in your own reality instead of chasing someone else's. As stability deepens, confidence becomes quieter. There is no need to assert it. You feel it in how you move, speak, and decide. This confidence is flexible. It does not break under criticism or inflate under praise. You remain centered because your sense of self is not outsourced. Self-trust strengthens boundaries. You say no without overthinking. You say yes with clarity. You do not explain yourself excessively because you are not seeking approval. This boundary setting is respectful and calm. It protects your energy and reinforces identity. Each boundary honored strengthens trust in yourself further. Inner stability also improves adaptability. Because you are not rigidly attached to outcomes, you can pivot without losing balance. When circumstances change, you adjust rather than resist. This adaptability keeps you effective in unpredictable environments. You remain functional under pressure because your stability is internal. Self-trust supports patience. You do not rush progress because you trust that effort compounds. You remain consistent even when results are delayed. This patience is not passive. It is active commitment without anxiety. You trust the process because you trust yourself within the process. Over time, this stability becomes embodied. You feel grounded physically and mentally. Decisions feel cleaner. Reactions soften. You occupy your own space comfortably. This embodiment of calm confidence influences how others experience you, not through dominance, but through presence. Self-trust also encourages honesty. You are honest with yourself about strengths and limitations. You do not inflate or diminish either. This honesty allows growth without self-deception. You work on weaknesses without shame and use strengths without arrogance. This balance keeps development sustainable. Inner stability reduces mental noise. There is less internal debate, less second-guessing. The mind feels quieter because it is not constantly questioning your ability to handle what comes next. This quiet supports focus, creativity, and rest. You recover more fully because your system is not always on alert. Self-trust also improves your relationship with uncertainty. Unknowns no longer feel threatening, they feel neutral. You accept that not everything can be predicted or controlled. Instead of trying to eliminate uncertainty, you strengthen your ability to respond to it. This shift removes chronic stress. As stability settles, you become less concerned with controlling others or outcomes. You focus on what you can influence directly: your actions, your attitude, your preparation. This focus keeps you effective without frustration. You stop wasting energy on resistance. Self-trust also allows you to be alone without discomfort. Solitude becomes grounding rather than isolating. You enjoy your own company because you are not running from yourself. This comfort strengthens independence and emotional resilience. You are whole without external stimulation. Inner stability is not something you declare, it is something you live. It shows in consistency, composure, and quiet confidence. You do not feel the need to rush or prove. You move steadily, trusting your footing. This is the strength that lasts, not built on momentum alone, but on reliability. You are no longer trying to convince yourself you are capable. You know you are, because you have built the evidence day by day. Self-trust and inner stability now support everything else you are creating. Discipline stays steady, focus remains clear, patience holds, progress continues without force. You are no longer trying to become grounded. You are grounded. Number 8. Quiet integrity and consistent character. As self-trust becomes stable, something deeper begins to take shape. Integrity that does not depend on visibility. You are no longer motivated by how things appear. You're guided by how they align. This shift is subtle but powerful. It changes the standard you live by. You stop asking what will be noticed and start asking what will last. Character becomes something you practice privately, not something you perform publicly. Quiet integrity shows up in small, repeated choices. You do what you said you would do, even when no one is checking. You keep promises to yourself without needing accountability from outside. This consistency builds an internal reputation. You trust yourself because your actions match your intentions. Over time, this alignment removes inner friction. The mind feels cleaner because there is no gap between who you think you are and how you act. Consistency becomes the language of your character. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation. You rely on structure, values, and follow-through. This steadiness creates confidence without effort. You don't have to convince yourself that you are disciplined. Your behavior already proves it. This proof is quiet, but it is solid. It does not disappear when conditions change. Quiet integrity also changes how you deal with temptation. When your identity is clear, choices become easier. You no longer argue with yourself as much. You know what fits and what doesn't. You walk away from distractions without resentment because you understand the cost. This clarity reduces internal struggle. You are not resisting life. You are choosing alignment. As character strengthens, emotional reactions soften further. You are less likely to compromise your values under pressure. Stress does not push you into shortcuts. Fatigue does not push you into excuses. You remain steady because your standards are internal, not situational. This steadiness builds trust, first with yourself and eventually with others, even if they never fully understand why. Quiet integrity also removes the need for comparison. You are no longer measuring yourself against others because your reference point is internal. You ask whether you acted with honesty, discipline, and respect. These questions ground you. They keep progress personal and meaningful. Growth becomes about depth rather than display. Consistency improves your relationship with effort. You stop waiting to feel inspired. You act because action reflects who you are. This removes drama from progress. Work becomes normal, not heroic. Rest becomes intentional, not avoidance. Balance forms naturally because you are not swinging between extremes of effort and neglect. Quiet integrity also influences how you handle mistakes. When you fall short, you take responsibility without self-punishment. You correct behavior instead of attacking identity. This response keeps learning alive. You do not abandon yourself after failure. You reinforce trust by staying present and adjusting. This resilience strengthens character further. As weeks pass, this consistency becomes embodied. You feel reliable to yourself. You wake up knowing what kind of day you are going to create, not because it is scripted, but because your standards are clear. This predictability is not boring. It is stabilizing. It frees mental energy for creativity and problem solving because the basics are handled. Quiet integrity also shapes how you interact with others. You are clear, respectful, and calm. You do not overpromise. You do not perform sincerity. You simply act in alignment. This reliability is felt more than explained. People sense that your words and actions match. This builds trust without effort. Consistency also protects you from burnout. When effort is steady instead of extreme, energy remains available. You are not constantly recovering from self-inflicted pressure. You work within sustainable limits. This approach allows progress to continue even during difficult periods. You remain functional when others stall. Quiet integrity strengthens patience. You are willing to invest effort without immediate reward because your motivation is internal. You value the process as much as the outcome. This long-term perspective keeps you grounded. You are not chasing approval or applause. You are building something durable. As character stabilizes, fear loses influence. Fear thrives when identity is uncertain. When you know who you are and how you operate, fear has less leverage. You may still feel uncertainty, but it does not control behavior. You act in alignment even when confidence is quiet. This courage is subtle but strong. Consistency also refines ambition. You are still driven, but your drive is calm. You are not desperate to arrive. You are committed to building. This commitment allows ambition to coexist with peace. You do not sacrifice well-being for progress. You integrate progress into your life. Quiet integrity eventually becomes your baseline. You are no longer thinking about being disciplined or consistent. You simply are. This identity is not rigid. It is flexible but principled. You adapt without abandoning values. You grow without losing yourself. This is the strength of character, built quietly. It does not depend on circumstances. It does not fade under pressure. It supports every other part of your growth. Discipline stays steady. Clarity remains sharp. Patience holds. Progress continues. You are no longer trying to become reliable. You are reliable. And that reliability creates a calm, grounded confidence that does not need to be announced. Number 9. Quiet momentum and long-term direction. As integrity stabilizes your character, momentum begins to feel different. It is no longer sharp or urgent. It does not come in bursts, followed by exhaustion. It moves quietly, steadily, almost unnoticed from the outside. This is the kind of momentum that lasts. It is built from rhythm, not pressure, from direction, not urgency. You are no longer trying to force progress forward. Progress is happening because everything inside you is aligned to support it. Quiet momentum grows when effort becomes habitual. You are no longer negotiating with yourself each day. Decisions that once required willpower now feel natural. You wake up already oriented toward what matters. This removes friction. Energy that was once spent on resistance is now spent on execution. You are not pushing against yourself anymore. You are moving with yourself. Long-term direction sharpens as momentum stabilizes. You stop obsessing over short-term outcomes and start paying attention to trajectory. Are you moving in the right direction overall? Are your actions consistent with where you want to be months and years from now? These questions guide your choices. They keep you grounded when distractions appear and calm when progress feels slow. Direction becomes more important than speed. Quiet momentum also changes how you experience effort. Effort no longer feels heavy because it is distributed evenly over time. You are not overloading single days with unrealistic expectations. You are spreading responsibility across consistent routines. This balance keeps energy available. You feel capable instead of depleted. Progress continues without burnout because it is not built on extremes. As direction clarifies, you become less reactive to temporary fluctuations. Good days do not inflate you. Difficult days do not discourage you. You understand that variation is part of any long process. This emotional steadiness keeps momentum intact. You do not abandon direction because of mood. You continue because commitment is deeper than feeling. Quiet momentum also reduces anxiety about the future. When you trust your direction and your consistency, you stop worrying about exact outcomes. You know that staying aligned will eventually produce results. This trust allows you to focus on execution instead of anticipation. The present moment becomes enough. You do your work today without demanding guarantees from tomorrow. Long-term direction also simplifies decision-making further. When choices appear, you evaluate them through a single lens. Do they support or distract from the direction you are building? This clarity reduces internal debate. You are not constantly weighing options emotionally. You choose based on alignment. This keeps momentum clean and prevents fragmentation. Quiet momentum strengthens patience without stagnation. You are not waiting passively. You are actively moving forward without urgency. This balance is rare. It allows you to build without stress. You are neither rushing nor hesitating. You are steady, and steadiness compounds. As momentum builds, confidence deepens again, but in a different way. You no longer feel confident because of belief alone. You feel confident because of continuity. You have been consistent long enough to trust that you will continue. This trust is calming. It removes fear of falling off. You know that even if something disrupts your routine temporarily, you will return. Long-term direction also protects you from distraction disguised as opportunity. Not everything that looks attractive is aligned. With direction clear, you can decline without regret. You are not afraid of missing out because you know what you are building toward. This selectiveness keeps momentum focused and prevents dilution of effort. Quiet momentum also changes how you measure success. You stop looking for dramatic breakthroughs. You notice incremental improvements, skills sharpening, reactions softening, decisions becoming easier. These changes are subtle, but they are real. They indicate progress beneath the surface. You value them because you understand how they compound. Direction gives meaning to repetition. Doing the same thing daily no longer feels boring. It feels purposeful. Each repetition reinforces identity. Each routine strengthens structure. This meaning keeps you engaged without needing novelty. You find satisfaction in refinement rather than constant change. Quiet momentum also improves resilience. When challenges appear, you do not lose direction. You adjust tactics, not values. You remain oriented even when plans shift. This adaptability keeps progress moving. You are not derailed by obstacles because your sense of direction is internal, not dependent on circumstances. As weeks turn into months, momentum becomes self-sustaining. You no longer think about staying consistent. You simply are. This frees mental space. You can focus on quality, creativity, and improvement rather than motivation. Progress feels lighter because the system is working. Long-term direction also deepens purpose. You understand not just what you are doing, but why you are doing it. This understanding is quiet but grounding. It anchors effort. It keeps you steady during uncertainty. You are not chasing meaning. You are living it through consistent action. Quiet momentum does not seek recognition. It does not rush to be seen. It builds strength patiently, and when results eventually surface, they feel natural rather than forced. They reflect accumulation, not intensity. This is how sustainable progress unfolds. Not through constant acceleration, but through maintained direction. Not through pressure, but through alignment. You are no longer trying to move faster. You are moving forward without stopping. Quiet momentum and long-term direction now work together. One keeps you moving, the other keeps you oriented. Together, they create progress that does not collapse under pressure. You are not drifting. You are not rushing. You are advancing steadily, grounded in clarity, discipline, and trust in the path you are walking. Number 10. Closure, identity, and the path ahead. At this point, something is clear. You are no longer building habits, discipline, or focus as temporary tools. They have shaped who you are becoming. The noise that once pulled you outward no longer controls your direction. You move with intention now, not because everything is easy, but because you are steady. You are not searching for yourself anymore. You are living from a center you've built patiently, quietly, and deliberately. This is what it means to focus on yourself and stay silent in the right moments. It was never about withdrawing from life. It was about stepping into it without distraction. You learned how to listen before reacting, how to choose before speaking, how to act without announcing. These choices didn't make you invisible. They made you grounded, and grounded people are hard to shake. You no longer need urgency to move. You no longer need validation to continue. You understand that real progress often feels calm while it's happening. The loud moments come later, if they come at all. What matters is that your direction is clear and your momentum is stable. You are not rushing toward an identity. You are living it daily through alignment, consistency, and self-respect. Look at how your thinking has changed. You don't exaggerate setbacks anymore. You don't dramatize uncertainty. You don't abandon yourself when things slow down. Instead, you adjust, you refine, you continue. This ability to stay with yourself through fluctuation is strength, quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need an audience to exist. Your silence now has meaning. It is not emptiness, it is selectiveness. You speak when it matters. You act when it counts. You rest when needed. You are no longer leaking energy through explanation, comparison, or unnecessary reaction. That energy is being invested where it actually compounds, into skill, clarity, and character. You also understand something important now. Not everyone needs access to your journey. Privacy protected your growth. It gave your ideas space to mature.